Hold on tight, spider monkey. As if you could outrun me!
It's more than some crush, Bella.
How? I don't even know what you're saying. How?
Woman, I hope you enjoy disappointment.
Who was it I called a monkey man the other day?
I don't know, but I wish you wouldn't.
Yeah, either way, you need to be put in jail, so it doesn't even matter.
You guys were there, though.
Yeah,
I know.
I remember you saying it. I think I walked into the walk-in because I didn't want to hear you talking more about the monkey men.
Yeah, I don't
Sorry.
remember where it came from.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. All right, we're back. And we are on episode 9, chapter 9 of my Twilight Fantasy podcast. Yay! And you got your 3 favorite Twilight girls here.
Oh, I'm T. Drizzy, also known as Tyree.
I'm Maya.
And I'm Anna.
Sup?
So, honestly, I am just super excited to get into things.
Let's go.
Let's just do it.
This is like we're picking up momentum. I'm more and more excited for every chapter.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe not. For a while, I felt like our Instagram was doing super well. I'm trying to post every day. It's hard. I'm running out of memes, but...
You're doing great.
Thank you. Did you like today's?
I did, yeah. And we're starting to get a lot of more responses.
Yeah, people
to everything,
comment.
and that's fun.
Someone commented, what is it that you guys like about Twilight so much? And Tyree and I talked about it. We didn't know what to say, but today I responded, listen to our podcast and find out.
There you
shout
go.
out to that person if you're listening.
Because, I mean, that's a hard question, you know? When I was a teenager, I probably would have been like, oh, Edward or Jacob or something. But I'm just like, now it's like, it's just a whole nother world that we can totally delve into.
Yeah.
And ignore everything else that's going on.
And it's a good part of it is nostalgia, for me, at least.
Absolutely.
Like, after reading and watching these books, I was ultra super convinced that, like, vampires and werewolves exist. Like, no matter what anyone said, because I was like, no one can imagine all that. Closer. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I should have just kept my mouth shut and just did what you said. But ever since, like, watching and reading the books, I was just thinking, like, there's no way people made this up. And I was, like, convinced that I was going to run into my vampire one day or my werewolf one day, and I was going to be...
Of course.
Yeah, I was going to be double booed up. And then now I'm like...
Booed up.
Instead of your Prince Charming, you're waiting on your werewolf.
Waiting on my Jacoby.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're entitled to feel that way.
But anyway,
I bet if you and Paul were in high school at the same time, those, what are they called?
The fangs.
Yeah. Prosthetic fangs,
Oof.
like, would have really wooed you.
No, it wouldn't have. He would be a courtyard kid in high school.
he wore those in high school?
I believe that's what he said. See, that
I'm
episode
done.
we talked
Cancel the podcast. We're done.
You're joking, right?
No.
I'm not joking.
He literally was talking about
Like
it.
to school and shit?
I think so. Or maybe, like, he just showed them to his private little vampire girlfriends. I don't
Oh
know.
my god, that hurt.
You know, he would be a courtyard kid at my school, and I would not associate with him if he wore vampire fangs. But,
Oh my god.
I mean, like, if it was during the Twilight era, because by the time I was in high school, the Twilight era was over, so... But, like, maybe then, like, but now, like, if it was in high school, it would have been... He would have been, like, the people who were, like, pinching, doing the little crab things out, and then playing ninja, and... I have videos. I'll just show you guys later than what the courtyard kids were, so... You'll see those later.
Shout out to the courtyard kids.
You know who you are.
You know, Maya, you were saying the other day just how polar opposites Paul and I are.
Well, yeah.
It's fun to listen to you guys talk.
On Sunday mornings, you guys just... all I can hear is you guys annoying each other. Mostly, once Paul wakes up, he's in a good mood, and it just pisses you off. It sounds like everything he says is annoying.
He's in a bad mood.
Really?
He's in a bad mood Sunday mornings, and then
He's always
usually
nice to
around-
us.
I don't think he's in a good mood.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, so he's in a bad mood, and I'm like, I'm already in a bad mood because it's Sunday, and I've already gotten shit from you know who. So I come in like that, and then he's in a bad mood, but then once he comes over and starts talking to you guys, he starts getting into a better mood. And then that's when he'll start coming over and talking to me.
And he won't
But
stop
then
talking to you.
No, he won't stop talking to me. Which, whatever. But then
I'm sorry.
at that point we start fighting usually too.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry. I'm just like thinking he's like listening to us like talk about it.
Oh, Paul, I'll give you $20 right now if you're listening to this.
Straight up. I'll double it.
I'll add $5 because right now I'm a broke hoe. But like, wait until I get paid tomorrow. Then I'll add another 15.
No, he's not listening to this.
No.
But
come collect if you are.
We can't mention anything to him. He just comes to work on Sunday, or Saturday, Friday.
Woo!
Forgot about that.
yeah.
And it gets a day off.
I mean, I am.
So
It's been 12
happy.
months.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you, but at the same time, I'm sad.
Oh, I'm not. Sorry, guys.
No, you don't have to be sorry.
Yeah,
just
you're
know,
good.
Just know that I'm sad, but I'm happy that you're getting your day off. But I'm sad.
Thank you. But no, I was just thinking about you saying that the other day because now that you said that about him in high school, like Paul and I can get along now. In high school, I was even more of an opposite from that kid you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was in every club and president of all the bullshit and all that stuff. I would not have been friends with the kids with the vampire teeth.
Writes a book, The Kid with the Vampire Teeth.
Yikes. Okay, let's ask him about that.
That's so funny. I had no idea. I love it though.
Yeah.
So he's Team Edward, is what I'm hearing.
He must
No,
be.
he is Edward.
Interesting.
No, he's not. He's so not.
It's like as if you could outrun me in Naruto runs away.
Yikes.
He's the modern Edward. Maybe.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Instead of eating his proper human blood, he uses like all the chip. Never mind. I was gonna confuse myself.
Yeah, I was thinking of ways to further that metaphor, but they're all mean, so I'm not going to.
So let's move on.
Yeah. How about Twilight?
Yeah. So back to Twilight. So yeah, like we said, we're on chapter 9 today. And I know we say this every time, but we're always like super excited for the next chapter. But I think after chapter 8, like the chapters start moving faster. Mm-hmm. And more starts happening and their relationship starts developing more. And it's like, it draws you in so much more. And I think I said this a couple episodes ago, but I was sick a couple weeks ago, and I ended up watching all the Twilight movies. Now that I'm, like, reading along again, I'm, like, so much more into their whole love story and the whole world again. Mm-hmm. That was, like you were saying earlier, like, it's taking me back to, like, when I initially, like, fell in love with Twilight, you know? And it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's super enjoyable. Not that I didn't enjoy it before, but it's, like, obsessive. You know what I mean?
Now it's a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really excited for this chapter and the ones ahead. But yeah, so we're on chapter 9. This chapter is called Theory. And with that, I'll go ahead and get into the overview. So, we begin the chapter on the ride home after Bella and Edward's first one-on-one dinner, where Edward started to give Bella some answers. And it's on this ride home that Bella shares her final theory on what he is, a vampire. And he admits to it almost immediately.
Yeah.
And so then she starts asking, like, common ideas around vampires, like, do you sleep in a coffin? Can you go in sunlight? Blah, blah, blah. And then throughout this conversation, Edward becomes furious because she expresses that, like, even though she knows that he's this creature, it doesn't matter to her. But he calms down and they eventually discuss more about his situation, but she ends up back home and is excited to see Edward the next day at school and kind of goes through her nightly routine at the end of the chapter, but then it's at the very end that she has her, like, very well-known conclusion about Edward.
Annoying.
Which is about 3 things I was absolutely positive. First, Edward was a vampire. Second, there was a part of him, and I don't know how potent that part might be, that thirsted for my blood.
Thirsted.
And third, I was unconditionally and irrevocably in love with him.
Okay.
Bro,
Can we break that down for a second? I know that's the very end of the
Yeah.
chapter. Like the last thing in the chapter. But you don't know anything about him except that he's a vampire and that he smells nice. Like, literally, you don't know his middle name. You don't know his favorite color.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about his home or family life.
Nope.
You don't know what his hobbies are. You only know that he drives fast. Like,
I'm in love
you're
with
not
him.
in love with him. You're infatuated. And that kind of, to me, brings back the idea that maybe she's so attracted to him because of his, like, vampire charm. Like, returning to a point that we've talked about before where it's like maybe it isn't her choice at all.
Right.
Maybe it's all... She has no choice. I don't know.
I hope that's what it is, because it hasn't even been, like, is it what? Because I don't know, like, the pace this book is going at, because, like, it was March for, like, 8 chapters. Well, not 8 chapters, but, like, a couple of chapters, and then it never, like, kept up with the time after that, like, what type of, like, time of year, like, what month it was. But, from what I'm assuming, it's, like, only been, like, 3 months, and she's like, I'm in love with him, and I understand love has no boundaries, and there can be, like, love at first sight, even though I don't believe in that bull crap. But I don't know, it's just out of pocket. And like Maya said, she knows nothing about him, and she's quick to jump the gun using the L word.
Well, it's premature. I mean, I could totally be into that quote if it were just like a couple chapters later, because even a couple chapters after this, like, they're spending more quality time together, they're talking about more things. It's just like, why did you fall in love with him first and get to know him after?
Yeah.
And maybe that is where the vampire, like, allure comes in. But I don't know. One thing I did want to point out about that quote, though, they changed one word of that in the movie.
Which word?
The second there was a part of him, and I don't know how potent that part might be. In the movie, they say dominant.
Weird.
And I noticed it right away because I was like, that doesn't sound right, because I've heard it a million times over in the movie, but in the movie she says second, there was a part of him, and I don't know how dominant that part might be that thirsted for my blood.
It might be that 50 Shades of Grey stuff.
Dominant?
Dominant is a word that suggests that to me,
Yeah.
personally.
But I don't know if there is, like, a huge significance there. It just seems strange to me that they changed one word, but I don't know. Dominant sounds right to me, but that may just be because I've heard it so many times now. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Maybe we might be just thinking about it really hard, and it was just that Kristen Stewart misspoke or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Who knows?
It could be.
Or maybe she just said potent word, and the director was like, no, change the word.
All right, so...
Did you turn off the lights?
What?
Has it been this dark in here?
I mean, it's getting darker outside.
Okay.
I can turn more lights on.
No, it's fine. Save your energy.
Anyway. Who would like to go first? Yes, Maya?
On page 181,
Okay.
Bella says, "Holy crow again."
No. That was the first note I made. And now that you've pointed it out to me, I hate it. I hate it so much. She says it in a future chapter, too.
It makes her sound like she's 80 years old.
Yes.
And not at this particular moment, not when she says holy crow, but other times I see myself in Bella. Unfortunately, I hate that I'm saying that out loud, but I am. Because I'm not sure if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but one time we forced Paul to listen to one of these episodes of the podcast, and he, like, between when the intro ends and when we started talking, he said that he thought my voice was like Kristen Stewart, and I fucking cried. I cried.
Did you see where I almost made her cry this weekend, too?
Yeah, when she walked to the back room and I told her that was a nice, like, exit.
I didn't mean
We
to.
can storm off.
But ever since you said that, I've been accidentally almost been calling you Bella.
I'm so hurt by that.
I'm so sorry. It's taking over my life, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't mean anything like it. You're not like Bella. You're be better than Bella.
I am like Bella.
You're not like Bella.
So it's
I could not hang out with Bella. I couldn't.
You barely hang out with me.
You are two of the people I see the most in my life. So. Flips hair. Be jealous.
And that's the tea.
Anyway.
Anyway.
You're not like Bella, you're fine.
Thanks. All right.
Looks off, still cries.
Trying not to cry. What else?
Also on 181, since we're just like starting at the beginning there, right after Edward explains his mind reading, so did you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah. This may be a stretch, but I started looking into schizophrenia and then Spanish influenza because I, like, you know, Edward's backstory of how he got changed was, it was like 1918, he had Spanish influenza, and then he was dying from it, so Carlisle, like, yeeted himself in there and then changed him. But, I was looking into it, and, because, you know, he explained his being able to read minds is, like, like hearing voices in a room, like hearing voices in his head or whatever, and it said if the parents of the child had Spanish influenza, it can develop into schizophrenia for the child, which is why I was thinking that's maybe how he developed his mind reading powers. So
That's a really cool theory.
That's interesting.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, but like because it happened in 1918, that's when Spanish influenza was around, but he was born in 1901, so I was just like, so I looked up to see if there was any influenza before that, and there was, so I was just like, so.
Yeah, because there were just hella plagues back then. But it's fine. Don't vaccinate your kids, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Goes off.
Don't get me started at the kids at Legoland.
Oh, God.
Yikes.
But yeah, so he kind of explains his whole mind reading.
Yeah.
So, like, it's the more familiar voices, the easier it's to, like, pick out their voice and hear them. But it's usually no farther than a few mile radius, which I think is interesting because in the movies, he says in the later movies that, like, he can read Arrow's mind because he's familiar with it, but Arrow's in Italy and he's in Washington. It's more than a few miles.
I wonder if it also says that in the book, or like how they resolve that.
Yeah. Or I don't know if what he meant was Alice can see what's his future is or what's going on, and he can read Alice's mind, but he made it sound as though he can just read Arrow's, but whatever. But then on 181, he's explaining to Bella that, like, he can hear everyone's thoughts except hers, and he explains it in this, like, maybe your thoughts are on the AM frequency, and I only have access to FM.
That was a good joke. I liked that.
Yeah. It, like, he just, like, boils it down to this, like, simple whatever. And her first reaction is, my brain doesn't work right. I'm a freak. Like, bitch. Like, she always takes everything to the worst possible conclusion.
It's at those moments where I'm like, that's me.
Maybe, but you're not always, like, I feel like, but she's, like, I think everyone's pretty inwardly negative, you know?
That was a depressed person thing that you just said.
Well, yeah. Hello. Depressed bitch. Like, yeah. Everyone's super negative on the inside, I think. I think it's just kind of our natural thing to do, but she just puts it all out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like, that's kind of like a girlfriend who jumps to conclusions type of thing, you know?
But watch me stick that landing, though.
So,
Yikes.
I don't know. I thought that was a little annoying, but
Yeah.
you know how we feel about Bella already.
And then at the end of the page, he says, "Relax, Bella," and then he rolls his eyes, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
I felt like kind of the intensity of this conversation was a little bit inappropriate, but what else is new? I also noted this. I kind of tracked the mood swings in the next chapter as well.
Mm-hmm.
They are hot and cold, dude. Not really that severely, but they just, like, go from happy, light joking to, like, super emotional.
Well, it's almost like Stephanie Meyer doesn't know any other emotions than sad, angry, scared.
In love.
And love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Edward, whenever he just, like, hears something he doesn't like, instead of just being, like, a little disgruntled or...
He's furious.
He's furious. He's angry. He's clearly, enraged. And it's just, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
you know?
Another note that I have is that, just a flip of the page away, on 183, already in the first book, this duality between Jacob and Edward is beginning to be set. So, I think they're just discussing, like, all the things that Bella learned from Jacob, and how, like, he mentioned the Cullen family by name and stuff like that. And Bella is just kind of, like, shameful that she, like, talked to Jacob a little bit, kind of. And, like, she's sorry.
For what?
Right, exactly. For what? Because they're not even dating, and even if they were dating, what's wrong with talking to someone else?
Right.
But that also, there's, like, this element of control in the relationship. Like, it's not even a relationship.
Yeah.
But Edward, it's not even him at this point. It's Bella anticipating his reaction of, like, possessiveness. But I just don't like that's the dynamic.
She was literally watching, like, she was, like, waiting to get, like, a reaction out of him the entire time she was, like, talking. And I was just like...
Yeah. And this is on 183 and 184, I think.
Yeah.
But, and also, another thing about this is she just, like, fully admits that she was using Jacob at this point.
Totally.
Which is not cool.
Also, she said she tricked him. I'm like, you didn't trick him. Right. You had a conversation.
Yeah.
You tricked him into having a conversation with you.
You're not a fucking magician. Calm down. Yeah. And I tried to flirt. That's accurate.
Right.
Because
it wasn't
flirting.
Yeah.
It's
so ridiculous.
She should have just said she felt at flirting. There was something I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
You know when she starts talking about, Edward asked her, like, when he's like, when I saw you, like, walking up the alleyway, you didn't look scared. You had, like, a more focused emotion on your face. And then she was like, well, I was about to, like, shove his...
gonna fight.
Yeah, she's like, I was gonna shove his nose into his, like, his nasal bone into his brain, and then he gets, like, pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, why were you gonna fight? And it's like,
well,
it's just not like she had much of an option.
I mean... He says, like, you could have run away.
Yeah.
Or, like, I don't know, yell for help.
Wander into the fucking emptiness of this town.
Don't let yourself get into situations like that if you can avoid it, obviously. And anger seems like an inappropriate reaction for sure, but also, like, I know we touched on this when it was happening, but the fact that she thought that she could fight those guys off is just, like...
insane.
It's insane because, and it highlights her, like, lack of self-awareness. Like, she just doesn't understand how she relates to the rest of the world.
Right.
It's not about you all the time, and you're not always gonna win.
No.
So, I don't know. That bothers me about her.
It's so weird because she's still, it feels like she's entitled to those things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I can do this, but...
My dad's a cop.
Also, at the same time, she's like, the whole world's against me.
Right,
it's like
both
this
of those things
weird
at once.
duality that's like, this doesn't match up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean...
She's 50 Shades of fucked.
She's 50 Shades of fuck, but she's also, like, 50 Shades of 15.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of mad that the one time she does decide to, like, stand up for herself, and when she decided she was going to fight is in a situation that she could not have won.
Yeah.
Like, she could have stood up for herself, as far as Lauren was concerned, didn't. Right. But, like, in the one situation where she actually probably would have lost, and worse, like, she's just like, I'm going to stand up for myself and, like, shove his nasal bone on his nose.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because she's helpless everywhere else.
I hate that, but it's beyond me.
On the page after, I have something negative to say about Edward, actually.
Go off. We're here for it.
So, I just think that he has, like, a little temper tantrum on page 185. So, it's right after... like, he's basically confirmed that he's a vampire, and then Bella says it didn't matter. And he starts getting, upset, like, you don't care if I'm a monster, if I'm not human. And Bella's like, oh, you're angry. And...
sick observation.
Yeah. So, but then he says, that's not what I was referring to. What he's referring to is when she said, it doesn't matter. And then she says, oh, so I'm right? And then I don't know why I picture this in my head, just him getting like all 12-year-old girlish and being like, does it matter?
Yeah, that's how I
You know what I mean?
pictured
That's
it.
exactly how I read it. And I'm just like, that seems so out of character for Edward. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why does he have to go off the deep end and just be like hella angry?
Yeah.
And rather be like, this is for your protection. Like, we shouldn't be together, blah, blah, blah. He's just like, does it matter? Like, oh, I don't know. There was like a movie where someone said something exactly like that I pictured him doing that thing. I can't remember what it is now, but it was just really goofy in my head. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's also important to note that there's this, like, whole scene in the woods in the movies where Edward says all the stuff like, you know, as if you could outrun me, yada yada, sparkle, sparkle.
Tyree, can you reenact all that?
As if you could outrun me!
Perfect.
But I was so sad when I read this chapter. Like, it made me so sad.
Yeah, it was like, so we're not going to get that. I forgot if that was in the books or not, but some of those lines that are pretty iconic from the movie are delivered right here. Like, how old are you? 17. And how long have you been 17? A while.
A while.
Those, I mean, yeah, like, anyway, this conversation in the car is important because it has those elements. Not all of them from that one condensed scene, but some of them. And this is, like, Edward admitting that he's a vampire and, like, giving us more details about how vampires work in this series.
Going off that real quick. So, when we were, I think it was chapter 6, where we were talking about Bella and Jacob's conversation about the Cullens and how much of a letdown it was for you to hear that. It didn't hit me until this chapter. Like, just how truly...
Really?
Or how big of a letdown that really was. Because, yeah, it was just so upsetting. It took so much away from all the questioning and all the build-up. Like, they're just in the fucking car driving home. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you're a vampire. And he's like, yep.
You got it.
And that's it. Like,
yeah. There's
so,
nothing...
like, as goofy as the movies were in that,
at least there's
I
tension.
think it's so much better than the books.
Yeah, the reveal is a lot
in
better.
the reveal. Yeah. Because even though, like, Jacob still kind of spells it out, there's still some mystery there. And, I mean, we were just laughing at it, but he did basically leave her to figure it out, and I don't know. I just think they did a lot better job. They probably realized that as they saw the books, like, this isn't that big of a, like, surprise. Mm-hmm. Not that it was going to be, because this was the vampire book, but I don't know.
I definitely agree with that. Because, you know, I think even literature professors will admit and embrace that there are certain things that novels and, like, prose can do really well that you can't achieve with other medias, and there are things that films can do really well that you can't achieve with anything, with words, basically. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think it's just one of those things. And also, there's just, like, no sexiness to this at all. Don't get me wrong, not that the scene in the movies is very...
But, I mean, it's a little darker.
Yeah.
Like, it's edgier.
It's edgier, yeah.
And that inherently has a, like, small amount of sexiness to it.
But in the book, they're just driving fast.
They're driving
That's
fast.
It.
Yeah.
And you don't feel that at all, you know?
No.
Except Bella just says, holy crow.
I had to, like, go back and be like, wait, this was the...
Yeah.
That was the reveal. Mm-hmm. That was it.
Yeah,
He's a vampire.
Like,
yeah.
It left me really wanting.
Yeah.
You know?
I was just thinking to myself in my head, what if you were to have, like... It's not off topic, but it sort of is off topic. Like, if you had, like, a blind person, like, listen to the movie... And, like, how would the reveal be different then for them?
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're a blind Twilight fan out there, let us know. Not to be a dick. I'm sorry. Email us. If you're blind You love Twilight.
Email us.
Email us.
Blind and love Twilight.
My Twilight Fantasy podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with my Twilight Fantasy at gmail.com. That's not us. Don't email them.
Yeah, please don't. We can't guarantee what you'll receive back.
Right.
I want to see.
But no, genuinely, if you're a blind Twilight fan, that would be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Their take.
But yeah, I don't know. Okay.
I'm a mess.
Yeah, I'm sorry for bringing that up.
All right. What else do you guys have? Since you don't have your notes.
I'm sorry.
Do you ever...
And they were such good ones, too. I like... Oh, God.
You got to get yourself one of these. My Twilight Fantasy podcast notebook. That's what
I have
Anne and I take notes in.
Yeah, they're showing it to me like you guys can see it.
My mom's merch just came in the other day. And I have... You need to get leggings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to check out our merch, on our Instagram page, in our bio, there's a link to our website that has links to like all of our social
Everything.
media, every way to listen, stuff like that. And then on the Connect page at the bottom, if you scroll to the bottom, there's a link to Patreon and a link to Threadless, and you can buy our merch on the Threadless link.
And our merch is dope. So
It is very lit.
It's pretty fun.
yeah,
I'm into it.
It's our It's just our logo right now, but I don't know. I got a couple T-shirts. We have a baseball T-shirt, which I will 100% be wearing that for the baseball scene. But duh. But we also got some really cute mugs. We gotta post these on our Instagram later.
Yeah, I'm the only one without merch right now, you guys. It's
Yeah.
fine.
And then Maya and I bought notebooks to take our notes in. So we're all Twilight decked out.
And then there's me.
You suck.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
I'm annoyed that I accidentally skipped this page in my notebook.
What do you mean?
This was like, my notes for this chapter are in blue, and I accidentally skipped this one somehow. I just like made some notes when we were recording 7.
Sorry.
Diary.
I was just trying to get out of
Why
the
do
way.
we keep all the loud things on the table?
Yeah.
But, crap, I just had it in my head. Oh, when he admitted to, like, actually being bothered and disturbed and, like, worried about her every time, like, he had to go off and hunt, and then, like, her admitting to it as well. Mm-hmm. I've really been trying to, like, every time I, like, hear them talk about things like that and, like, their attachment to each other, it's sort of like, I automatically, like, soulmates is ringing in my head, but it, like, never is vocalized in the book, because, like, you know, like, Jacob could have whoever he imprints on, but then it doesn't say what they have for vampires. But I don't want to, like, skip further ahead into the book, but yeah, I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep that thought to myself. But I just, for one, I don't see myself worrying about someone that you have these on and off, like, hot and cold conversations with. But, like, he was talking about how he, like, it was like her not being around him, like, physically distracted him for doing what he needed to do. And then she's like, yeah, every time you're not there, I get, like, sad and anxious at school, even though, like, she doesn't even know what's going on, even though, like, I don't know. I don't want to get too into it. I'm just, like, rambling now. Like, go on.
That's so annoying to me. Like, don't feel validated that when the person you like isn't around, you don't feel comfortable. Like, reject that, be comfortable in yourself, and then maybe you can pursue a relationship with your weird vampire. But, can we flip to page 190 really quick?
I think I know what you're going to say already.
Yeah. Kind of close to the top. Edward says, "Don't you see, Bella? It's one thing for me to make myself miserable, but a wholly other thing for you to be so involved." So, given this context, and Edward being this self-loathing character, what he's saying is that it's okay for him to, like, feel weird about Bella and stalk her on his own time, but once her feelings, like, he feels like his feelings at her don't involve her. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
How nasty messed up is that?
I made a note of that sort of at the end of the chapter when he says sleep well, but, like...
Yeah. I'm sure we'll return to all these times where Bella's fallen asleep and felt like someone was watching her and it was him. Like, that's so creepy.
Yeah,
that's not
creepy.
Cute.
That's literally what I noted. He's like, sleep well, and I'm like, you're acting like your BA is not about to be in her room as soon as she falls asleep. Like,
Right.
chill
Gross. And that logic is just so broken. But it reads as like him being kind of obsessed with her and like kind of sounds like a stalker. I don't know. And then it just seems like he's trying to freak her out as well. Like on page 192, he tells her like, promise me one thing, don't go into the woods alone.
Like,
there are worse things than me out there. Like, okay, I know we're getting to that, and I know that in the movies there's this whole like kind of subplot behind Edward and Bella, their whole relationship playing out. In the background, there's like these animal attacks, and we later find out that it's a vampire attack. And I know he's trying to get at that, but like, I don't know. For once, I'm not into how the foreshadowing in this book works.
I noted, I'm like, they couldn't just end the chapter on like them having their deep conversation, like, yeah, I'm gonna see you tomorrow, and yeah, even though she's like, do you promise you'll be there tomorrow? I'm like, does it make a difference if he's gonna be there?
Yeah.
Anyway, but then he's just like, oh yeah, don't go into the woods by yourself. There's worse things out there than me, and I'm just like,
And this is all even before, I'm pretty sure it's before he knows what's going on with the vampires, like, attacking the townspeople, or, like, people in the surrounding area. So was he, like, legitimately just trying to scare her? Or was he saying, like, the werewolves are bad people? Or, like, what was the point of that?
Well, maybe that's why they introduced that subplot as, like, intermittently in the movie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it gave some context to his creepy, warnings.
I also have a question.
Yeah.
Why was she crying?
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to bring up.
Okay, well, I felt like, she's a weak itch, but so am I. So, like, any small scratch at my feelings, I'll cry. At least on the inside. And so that made sense to me, but it is really, like, another extreme reaction.
Someone who refuses to admit feelings.
What page is that on, where she's crying?
It's on 190 at the bottom.
Okay.
But I don't like his reaction either, because, again, Edward is only allowed to have extreme reactions. Yeah. It's never... Because he says, are you crying? He sounded appalled. It's like, yeah, you hurt her feelings.
Right.
And it's... But, like... I don't know. I always say, like, I'm not mad at Edward. I'm mad at Stephanie. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he's a fictional fucking character.
Right.
But I don't understand why she wrote him only having these extreme reactions to everything. Like, you could be like, oh, are you crying?
And you think
like, a surprise, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that.
Right. Even as someone who has lived apart from humans for so long, you'd think that someone who's been just on the earth would have, like, a much more mellow, understanding, emotional outlook on the world. Does that make sense?
And wouldn't have the fucking emotional awareness of a 15-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I know how... I really liked the part where he was about to reach over and, like, it looked like he was, like, gonna, like, wipe her tears away, and then he was sort of just, like, put his hand back on the steering wheel. I just want to know what was going through Bella's mind when all that happened, when he was just like...
There's been a scene where they touched and she was like, you are cold, right?
You are so cold.
You are so cold. Didn't that happen once where she touched his hand and he was freezing?
Not in the books. Really? It happens in the movies.
Okay. I thought maybe...
she's like, I'm warm now, and goes to change the heat, and he does too, and they touch hands.
Yeah.
You are so
But no, in the movie, or in the books, remember, she tries to reach over at dinner twice.
And he just
and he
back.
Pulls away from her.
Yeah. That would be super hurtful, but for some reason I thought she had touched him before and realized he was really cold and maybe, like, on some level thought that...
Well, he's carried her before.
That's what I like, during that whole scene, I mentioned it then because, like, she passed out from the blood or whatever, and she was laying on the pavement because it was cold. I thought it was going to be, like, she was going to lean on him and, like, his chest was cold, and she was like, oh, this is so soothing. Or something like that, but no. Stephanie effed up her chance.
Because nothing is more soothing than a cold chest, am I right? Anna shrugs.
I don't know, I'm like one of those people. I have, like, a bed fan, because I just love to be freezing at night. So, I could cuddle with a vampire.
Weird flex, but okay.
That's why she's Team Edward.
Maybe there is something between you and Paul.
Where did that even come from? What the fuck?
It is a thing. The vampires, Edward is just like the... I saw that was going there, and I was just like, yes, say it.
I didn't at all, and I reject it completely.
Okay.
Say it out loud.
No!
As if you could outrun me.
Anyway.
Can we... What?
Oh,
What's
no,
up?
go.
I was just going to talk about the, least exciting part of this chapter, which is her phone call with Jessica. You go, Jessica, for actually checking in, even though I know it's only because you want to know the dirt on, the new girl and Edward Cullen.
Yeah.
But...
Girls taking care of girls.
Yeah. Way to go for that.
Yeah, I like that.
That seemed like the first really normal interaction they had.
That's another example of where she talks really weird.
I want to see
me.
that. What page?
So when at the bottom of 194, so she calls her. She goes, "Hey Jess, I was just going to call you." Tells her she leaves her jacket in the car, and then Jessica's like, "No, tell me what happened." And then Bella hesitates and is like, "Tomorrow in Trig, okay?" And she says that Jessica caught on quickly, like, "Oh, is your dad there beside you?" And she
Yes,
just
that's
says,
right.
"Yes, that's right." No, you just say, "Yeah, I'll talk to you
Right.
tomorrow." Not, "Yes, that's right."
Oof.
What the fuck?
Like a robot.
Yes,
Or
she is a robot.
An 80-year-old woman. That's normally how I picture her.
Flashback.
I don't-
We'll flash into new moon.
Her the way she speaks is just so weird, because sometimes it's super casual, and then she says shit like this, and it's like, I don't know where her mind is.
Yeah.
But-
It's... Okay, so maybe it just comes back to poor writing, Maybe we can
I think it
address
does.
that. It's not that poorly written. I've read much worse books.
Stephanie, email us. We just want to talk.
Yeah, Stephanie Meyer, if you're a fan, write us at My Twilight Fantasy Podcast
Let's
at
link.
gmail.com.
Let's cook.
Let's go. We got some fire.
Yeah. Well, do we? I don't know.
If you think we're fire, email us at My Twilight Fantasy Podcast at gmail.com.
I feel like they're going to email us if we're not. They're like, you're not fire. They're not going to even say we're fire.
Should we get to things that we liked about this chapter? Or do we have anything else critical?
I was saying how Edward's over concerned for Bella. I said it did seem stalkerish, but it was sort of like endearing at the same time, which is why I could see why she was like, oh, he cares. But that was one. Another one. Here, come back to me, because I was like, I had two that I wrote down, but notes are at home. Just let.
I just have more to rip on at the end of the chapter with the Bella's dramatic, her admission that she's in love with him. I really genuinely think that she needs therapy.
Well, yeah.
She seems like a very dramatic and fragile person, and I thought that it was pretty interesting, the scene. So after she gets home, Charlie tells her, like, dude, it's like 9 o'clock, like, what are you doing back already? And she's just like loopy and super tired and wants to lay down or lie down, maybe. I don't know. My mom always corrects me and I still don't understand it. Anyway, the difference between lie down and lay down. I digress. She takes a shower, and it's not until she gets into like super hot water that she realizes she's freezing cold. And so I thought it was interesting that just being around Edward kind of makes her change her nature and makes her cold and like more dramatic than she already is.
Yeah.
I'd also like to say something. Not to correct you at all, but like I remember making a note or something, and it said Charlie. Sorry, do I need to?
I'm sorry.
Charlie. He said she's like, Billy, already home? You're home early. And then he was just like, it's not even 8 yet. So I'm thinking, so it's like before 7. I'm thinking like, when is all this like you getting like chased down by these guys? You guys having dinner? Like, was it light outside?
After the sunset, like
right.
4 p.m.
And I'm like, that's another reason why I was thinking about the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what time? I was like, what time of year was it? Has the spring forward already happened? Is it light outside, dark outside? And so I'm thinking like, is the sun still out and you're about to get like whatever's about to happen to you? And then like, I don't know, that sort of just threw me. Yeah. Like, so it's like you're coming home at like 7:30 and it's like, I don't know, I have never seen the sun like set that early. Maybe like 6 o'clock, like around winter time, but like they're getting into spring, so it's like
But they're also in the, like, Pacific Northwest,
okay.
Yeah,
which
I
is,
don't
like,
know.
somewhat close to Alaska, where it's dark all the time,
Okay.
you know?
Okay, I'll have to use that rationale then.
Because
I was
my
super
cousins
confused.
live in Seattle, and over the summer, or no, it was the fall when I went to go visit them, but it was getting dark around, like, 5:30.
That's out of pocket. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it got dark at 5:30, I'll be hella naps at 6.
Yeah, I would be more sad than I already am, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just interesting to me, and I think it's at one point, I forget exactly where it is, but the weather gets bad again, and she knows that means Edward's going to be at school, and so she's like happy and excited, which you just see her fighting her own nature.
I think I said that in the last episode,
Yeah, I think you
too.
did.
I said in
Because
chapter
it's
10.
the same thing. You see it kind of evolving, like her forgetting Arizona, getting used to this new environment, and knowing that the shitty weather means she gets to see Edward.
Right, which is like good that you're adapting, but also
It's for a boy.
it's for a boy and not herself, which I just reject
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I agree.
Because men ain't S.
Facts.
I don't know. I do feel that too, but oh man, are we ready to get really deep?
Yeah.
I kind of found the first time I fell in love with when I was a teenager, that person really helped me find myself. Mm-hmm. And I came out of it, you know, knowing what I wanted and, you know, more sure about where I was. So, like, maybe she just is very much an unsure teenager, and she found something that really, I don't know, keeps her going, but for the better, it's going to change her outlook on everything, if that makes sense.
It does,
I don't know.
and it
Not
could
it's the right
be a
way to go about
cool
it, but
direction if this ever led to her finding herself, but I don't
I don't-
maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong, but
if
I don't think it does.
Yeah. I think they tried to make it come to that conclusion in the movies because, you know, when she's like, you know, my life has just ended, but I've never felt more alive or something like that. Like, she feels like she's finally sure in who she is. But maybe in the books, as we read on, like, we'll see more and more this progression of, like, her accepting herself. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'd be really happy to see that.
Me too. Because as much as she annoys me, I'm still rooting for her.
Right. I mean, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
I just want her to be less annoying. The reasons that she annoys me are like this, like, because she depends on other people for her own, like, security.
Yeah.
I would like to see her overcome that.
Yeah. Me too. For sure. All right. Do we have
Yeah.
things we like about the chapter?
I had what I liked. I really didn't have anything else.
Okay. Maya?
My one thing that I like is Jessica checking on her. That's really it.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I like that too.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
One thing I like, I don't know why I liked it either, but I just did. I like kind of the connection that maybe it's because we're not given a lot of, what am I trying to say? Background on like where their feelings are coming from. So when they do make that was a connection right there. Like, I really like that. So like the connection where she's telling about her observations about his eye color and his mood changes and how she's observed that the darker they get, like the more hungry he must get. And she starts like being lighthearted, like, and you know how guys are, they get,
Right.
grumpy when they're angry, and he finds that humorous. I'm like, that's a connection. Like,
Yeah.
that's something like they were both lighthearted for a minute, but they were still addressing this, like, he's a vampire thing.
Right. Which is, in a way, better than the movies
Yeah.
because it serves to, like, establish a friendly connection between them rather than just, like, this edgy, like, we still don't know each other.
Hardcore
but
love.
we're in love with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Hardcore love is a good way to put it.
That's what it is.
You're right.
But I really liked that. Just like it's just like a snap moment in this, but
Yeah. I noted there was like I was like a lot more playful banter, and I was just like, y'all better go.
Well,
yeah. Well, I think that kind of does it for this chapter. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. We've still been getting a lot of love, and we're really excited about where everything's going. But continue to listen. You know, we're still on YouTube, but we're also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify now. And you can also listen to episodes early on our Patreon account. And like Maya was saying earlier, the link in our bio of our Instagram account is to our website that has the links to everything. So all of our social media, Instagram, Twitter, you name it, and also the links to our Patreon account and our merch website. Mm-hmm. So you could get some fun t-shirts and mugs like us.
Hey.
But anything else, you guys?
I think that's all. Thank you guys for
That's
listening.
all. Yeah, thanks for listening. Check back next week for chapter 10. But for now,
Peace.
Love.
and Twilight.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.